A Smoking Christmas Carol, starring Real Smoking Girl. It was 4:30 a.m., and Real Smoking Girl was awake. This in itself was not news. A heavy smoker, Real Smoking Girl was accustomed to her body waking her when her blood nicotine levels dropped too low. Often, she would get up and power smoke in the middle of the night. Her dream in life was to be able to smoke in bed, ideally to be able to smoke in her sleep. But tonight, it was not her nicotine-craving body that had awakened her. No, tonight someone or something had awakened her, specifically by tickling her toes. Real Smoking Girl forced open one sleepy eye and gazed down at the foot of her bed. Whatever that something was, it was still there. Her breathing became quick and shallow. Her wheezing grew more pronounced. She cleared her throat with 3 little coughs. Then, in a voice still rough from the previous day's pack and a half of punishment, she called out, Who's there?" "It's us," said the thing. "Us who?" asked Real Smoking Girl. "I'm Righty, and this is my associate, Lefty," the thing replied. "We're Lungs," he added matter-of-factly. Frightened, but also curious, Real Smoking Girl reached over to the nightstand and turned on the light. She blinked, her eyes adjusting. It was true. Real Smoking Girl was being visited by a pair of talking lungs. Not just talking. "Wait, are you breathing?" Real Smoking Girl asked. "Of course we're breathing," Righty replied, smiling like a game show host. "We're Lungs." "Dumbass," muttered Lefty. Now, anyone waking up at 4:30 in the morning tends to feel confused. Anyone waking up at 4:30 in the morning and attempting to have a conversation with a pair of lungs, well, that person feels extra confused. "What are you doing here?" asked Real Smoking Girl. "Tonight, you will be visited by 3 lungs," Righty explained. "3 lungs?" asked Real Smoking Girl. "3 pairs of lungs," Righty clarified. "Moron," said Lefty. "The ghost of Lungs past, the ghost of Lungs present, and the ghost of Lungs," he paused dramatically. "Future," Righty continued. "Like that story?" asked Real Smoking Girl. "The Scrooge thing?" "Yes," said Righty, "a Christmas Carol, but with lungs. The ghost lungs will show you visions of what your lungs used to be, what they are today, and what they will be tomorrow if you continue to smoke. They'll be black and I'll be dead," said Real Smoking Girl. "Did I get it right?" "Basically," said Righty. "Jerk," said Lefty. Then Righty and Lefty vanished in a puff of smoke. Tobacco smoke, Real Smoking Girl noted. She stared, blinking at the spot where the lungs had been standing. After a moment, she decided the entire episode must have been a hallucination. "I gotta lay off the weed," she told herself, before snuggling back under her covers and drifting off to sleep, her breathing raspy and rhythmic like the purring of a cat. She was dreaming, and in her dream, Real Smoking Girl was lying in bed. A cat was licking her face. The tongue scratched like sandpaper, and Real Smoking Girl scrunched her nose. But when she reached up her hand to shoo the cat away, there was no cat, but there was something. Real Smoking Girl slowly opened one eye, and right in front of her, so close that it filled her field of vision, was a different pair of lungs. These lungs were pink and perky and vibrant, expanding and contracting with no difficulty. They were like puppies, bouncing and playing and bursting with boundless energy. "Oh shit," said Real Smoking Girl. "More lungs." Behind the pink lungs, she could make out Righty and Lefty standing awkwardly like hall monitors. "Do you recognize those?" asked Righty. "My youthful pink lungs?" guessed Real Smoking Girl. "Well, yes," said Righty, surprised how quickly Real Smoking Girl had answered. "The ghost of lungs past. What do you notice about them?" Real Smoking Girl studied the peppy pair of lungs, which were now doing jumping jacks and, let's face it, showing off a bit. Having propped herself up on one arm to observe the playful young lungs, Real Smoking Girl now collapsed back into her bed, exhausted just from watching. "Here," said Righty, "let me help you remember." Righty waved his little lung hand magician style, and an image appeared, floating in the bedroom. In the image, Real Smoking Girl could see her 15-year-old self. Teenage Real Smoking Girl was the captain of her high school badminton team. She rocked a little white uniform skirt that flapped flirtatiously as she ran and leaped and stretched. "I was pretty good," said Real Smoking Girl. "Stupid game," said Lefty. "Yes, you were athletic," said Righty, ignoring his colleague, "and your pre-tobacco lungs were amazing." It was true. Teenage Real Smoking Girl sprinted everywhere on the court, non-stop, moving with ease. There was no labored breathing at all, no gasping for air as her adult self frequently did. Present-day Real Smoking Girl marveled at her sporty teenage version. "Do you remember what became of that girl?" asked Righty. With another wave of his little lung hand, the image changed. Now, Teenage Real Smoking Girl and two other girls were at the far end of the high school parking lot, standing in a circle. One of the girls dangled an all-white cigarette from her lips and sparked a lighter to life. All three girls huddled together, conspiratorially, cupping their hands around the flame. The first girl took a puff, then passed the cigarette over to Teenage Real Smoking Girl. She held it between her slender fingers, watching the tip burn. A tiny angel materialized on Teenage Real Smoking Girl's left shoulder. "Don't do it," the angel warned. "You know, Jesus didn't smoke, except the occasional cigar after a nice supper." At that moment, a tiny devil appeared over Real Smoking Girl's other shoulder. "Eh," said the devil, "what's the worst that could happen? Lung cancer? A life spent as a slave to nicotine? Isn't that worth it for pleasures like hawking up phlegm and experiencing years and years of deteriorating health?" As the tiny angel and tiny devil got into a shoving match behind her neck, Teenage Real Smoking Girl placed the smoldering white cylinder between her flawless lips. She sucked a mouthful of smoke from the filter, held it for a moment, then executed the first of the estimated billion perfect snap inhales she would perform during her smoking career. Her two friends stared, mouths agape. Even the little devil and angel briefly quit wrestling and watched. "What?" asked Teenage Real Smoking Girl, noticing she had become the center of attention. "That was perfect," said one of her friends. "How'd you do that?" said the other. "I don't know," said Teenage Real Smoking Girl. "I guess smoking comes naturally to me." The visions of her healthy teenage lungs past had unsettled Real Smoking Girl. She decided a cigarette would make her feel better. She grabbed her pack of Next Originals, stepped out onto the porch, and lit up. Righty and Lefty followed her outside, trotting behind her on their adorable little lung legs. Snap inhaling the strong smoke felt good. She took a second pump, then a third, feeling the nicotine enter her bloodstream as a fresh coat of tar attached itself to her abused air sacs. She pursed her lips, pointed her chin upwards, and exhaled. And that's when things got weird. Pouring out of her perfect little mouth, the smoke didn't dissipate. Instead, it remained thick and visible, like a gray ball hovering in the still air of the night. Righty used his little lung hand to shape and sculpt the smoke, which was starting to look familiar. "Are these mine too?" asked Real Smoking Girl. "Ah, you recognize yourself," said Righty. "Genius," said Lefty. Done with his sculpting, Righty turned to Real Smoking Girl. "These are the ghosts of your lungs present." Real Smoking Girl could see right away how different these lungs were from her teenage lungs. Her youthful lungs had been bright pink and veritably exuding good health. These, however, were a dull grayish color and speckled everywhere with oozing brown-black spots like a piece of spoiled meat. "They seem to be working okay," Real Smoking Girl suggested. "Oh, they're doing their best," Righty said. "Given what you put them through, I'd say they are struggling heroically." Righty reached into a pocket on his side and pulled out a remote. He clicked some buttons with his little lung hand. Nothing happened. "Ghost mode!" Lefty blurted out. "Put it in ghost mode, then press channel up. Otherwise it thinks you're trying to operate the VCR." Righty adjusted the remote and clicked again. The image of the ghost of lungs present was replaced by an image of present-day Real Smoking Girl sitting on the side of her bed in the morning light, covering her mouth as she coughed sharply. Righty clicked the remote again, and there was present-day Real Smoking Girl reaching the top of a flight of stairs. She placed a hand on her chest, struggling to calm her heart and catch her breath. Righty clicked once more, and the scene shifted again, this time to a backyard. A child's birthday party was in progress, with games, balloons, and laughter. Down the street, out of view of the others, present-day Real Smoking Girl stood alone, speed smoking to get her nicotine fix. Righty clicked pause, and the image froze in mid-inhale. Present-day Real Smoking Girl pulling hard on the white filter of her cigarette. Her cheeks were deeply dimpled, and visible lines emanated from her mouth, the result of more than a decade of hard sucking on little cylinders. "What do you think?" Righty asked. "The dimples look nice," Real Smoking Girl said. "Any other thoughts?" Righty asked. "Look," Real Smoking Girl said, "I get it. Smoking is bad. It says so right on the pack, next to the lady with no jaw." "She can read," chirped Lefty. "But I'm okay with that," Real Smoking Girl added. "Life's too long anyway. If the point of life is to actually get to heaven, then why wait, right?" Righty clicked the remote and the images disappeared. "That's one way to look at it," he said. Real Smoking Girl crushed her cigarette and stood on her porch. She knew there was still one more visitor expected, the ghost of Lung's future. She braced herself for a truly gruesome spectacle. If her current lungs were already a mess, what would the future vision look like? Skeleton lungs? So it was with some surprise that the next vision she saw was pure white lungs, with adorable little angel wings and a halo. "Halo!" the angel lungs exclaimed cheerily. "Get it? Like hello, but 'cause we're angels. Are you," Real Smoking Girl started to ask, "the ghost of Lung's future?" "Yep, that's us," the angel lungs chirped. "I was expecting," Real Smoking Girl started. "Something disgusting?" the ghost of Lung's future interrupted. "Yes," Real Smoking Girl said with some relief. "I thought you'd be all black and nasty." "Well, we would be," the angel lungs clarified, "if we were the ghost of your lungs' future. But your lungs couldn't make the trip. Traveling, sadly, is no longer an option." The ghost of Lung's future paused to let that sink in. "We're here to take you to see your future lungs, so why don't you have something to calm your nerves, you know." Absorbing the suggestion, Real Smoking Girl lit a cigarette and inhaled deeply. She exhaled as usual, but felt some smoke still lingering in her lungs, so she exhaled again, surprising herself by producing a larger volume of smoke. Though she was not inhaling from her cigarette, each subsequent exhale produced more and more smoke, enshrouding the porch in pitch blackness. "Impressive, isn't it?" said the ghost of Lung's future. "How much there is after just 30 years of smoking." 30 years? Real Smoking Girl gasped. "Yes, you are exhaling 30 years of smoke," the ghost of Lung's future explained. "It's called infinite exhale. The boys at Ghost Lung R&D thought it up. Makes a real impression on a smoker." The angel lungs paused for effect as present-day Real Smoking Girl continued to exhale an alarming amount of smoke. "Infinite exhale is even more popular than Butt Mountain," the angel lungs added casually. "Butt Mountain?" gasped Real Smoking Girl, still belching smoke like an old steamship. "Let me give you a taste," the ghost of Lung's future said. There was a rumbling sound. The ground started to shake, and Real Smoking Girl felt herself rising. She looked down. Below her feet were cigarette butts. First hundreds, then thousands, materializing out of thin air, filling in below her and raising her higher and higher. It was an endless growing mountain of crushed yellow filters, many bearing her telltale lipstick stains. The mountain of butts had risen to 10 feet high, with Real Smoking Girl perched unsteadily at the summit. "I guess that's enough," the Ghost of Lungs Future said, with a note of sadness. Butt Mountain stopped growing. From the peak, Real Smoking Girl cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted down to the Ghost of Lungs Future. "What is this?" "The discarded butts of every cigarette you smoked during your lifetime," the Angel Lungs replied. "All," the ghost checked his clipboard, 168,924 of them. 168,924, said Real Smoking Girl, doing the math. "So I must have quit in my early 40s? "I wouldn't say quit," the Ghost of Lungs Future replied. "Stopped would be technically more accurate. Anyway, ready to come down from Butt Mountain?" the Angel Lungs asked. "Yes," gasped Real Smoking Girl. "Please, now!" The Ghost of Lungs Future waved its little lung hands, and suddenly Real Smoking Girl felt herself falling, sinking into Butt Mountain like a struggling swimmer going under. Just as she feared she was about to drown in her own discarded butts, she felt her feet touch solid ground. "You hit rock bottom," the Ghost of Lungs Future said with a chuckle. "Phew!" Real Smoking Girl was bent over, hands on her knees, gulping air like a sprinter after a race. Is that it?" she gasped. "Can I go back to bed now? Back to the present?" "I'm afraid not," the Ghost of Lungs Future replied. "We haven't actually shown you your future as stipulated in our contract. No show, no dough." The Ghost of Lungs Future rubbed its little lung thumb and lung fingers together in the universal gesture of money. Then, with a wave of its little lung hands, suddenly Real Smoking Girl found herself in the observation area of a hospital intensive care unit. There were lights and beeps and the white noise hum of machines. There were nurses efficiently moving about the ICU, adjusting dials, taking notes. 2 nurses stood outside a patient's oxygen tent. "So young," one nurse said. "Tisk, tisk," said the other, shaking her head as people do when they say tisk, tisk. Real Smoking Girl turned to the Ghost of Lungs Future. "Who's in there?" she asked. "Someone you know," the Ghost of Lungs Future replied. "Come, let's have a look." Real Smoking Girl and the Angel Lungs entered the tent. There, propped up in the hospital bed, was future Real Smoking Girl. She was a pale, frail, skin and bones version of herself. Her once head-turning face was obscured by a plastic oxygen mask. Her once stunning hair, whatever was left of it, was tucked into a hospital-issue head covering. The only sounds in the tent were the hiss of oxygen flow, the rhythmic beeps of a heart monitor, and the gurgling of future Real Smoking Girl's labored breathing. Present-day Real Smoking Girl winced. "You're telling me this is my future?" she asked the Ghost of Lungs Future. "You're telling me this is my future?" she asked the Ghost of Lungs Future. Well, yes, the Angel Lungs said matter-of-factly. Seeing Real Smoking Girl cringe, the Ghost of Lungs Future added, "Hey." The Ghost of Lungs Future added, "Hey, you had 37 good years." "I'd die at 37? cried Real Smoking Girl. "No," the Ghost of Lungs Future replied. "You die at," checking the clipboard again, 42. Real Smoking Girl again found herself doing the math. Real Smoking Girl again found herself doing the math when a voice interrupted. "Help!" croaked future Real Smoking Girl in a rough, hoarse voice. Her bony forefinger was entwined in the elastic band of her oxygen mask. She looked directly at present-day Real Smoking Girl, her eyes beseeching her from their deep sockets. "Help!" she said again. You want to take off the mask? Present-day real smoking girl asked her future self. Help, hoarse whispered future real smoking girl. Hesitating at first, present-day real smoking girl leaned over and carefully slipped the elastic band from future real smoking girl's ear. The oxygen mask flopped onto the pillow, oxygen continuing to flow. A nurse poked her head into the tent, as nurses occasionally do, to confirm a patient hasn't died on their watch. Satisfied, the nurse disappeared as abruptly as she'd arrived. When present-day real smoking girl turned her attention back to the bed, she gasped. An unlit cigarette dangled from future real smoking girl's pale lips. Her skeletal arm was extended, and with her small, bony hand, she fished around for something beneath her mattress. In a moment, she located the item, her lighter. With precision born of a lifetime of practice, future real smoking girl raised the lighter to the tip of her cigarette. Present-day real smoking girl turned pleadingly to the angel lungs, but they appeared not to notice her, nor did they seem concerned. Present-day real smoking girl turned back to her future self just in time to see the elderly patient touch her thumb tip to the lighter's wheel. Present-day real smoking girl wanted to scream no, but her voice was stifled like in a nightmare. Future real smoking girl summoned her last ounce of energy and commanded her thumb muscle to flick. And then the room went white. Real smoking girl blinked, struggling to focus her eyes. Everything in her field of vision was white, but familiar. As she focused, she recognized this white expanse, her bedroom ceiling. Real smoking girl sat up and surveyed her room. "Looking for us?" asked Righty, startling real smoking girl. "Yes, I guess," replied real smoking girl. "You didn't think we'd leave without saying so long, did you?" "Idiot," said Lefty. I don't know," said real smoking girl. "Are you even real?" "It doesn't matter whether we're real," said Righty. "The images the spirit showed you tonight, those are real." "Even that last one? The future?" asked real smoking girl. "Yes," said Righty. "That is one possible future." "Possible," repeated real smoking girl. "Correct," said Righty. "The future hasn't happened yet." "Duh," said Lefty. Then with a wave of their little lung hands, Righty and Lefty vanished as before, leaving behind a faint whiff of tobacco smoke. The room was quiet. Outside, the weak light of a winter morning began to filter in through the window. Lying in bed, real smoking girl felt a familiar urge and unconsciously slipped an all-white cigarette between her lips, automatically reaching for her lighter on the nightstand. Then, catching herself, she put the lighter back down and lay perfectly still, staring up at the ceiling, allowing the unlit cigarette to fall from her mouth.